What's up, gang, and welcome back to another YouTube video. This week, I've been obsessed with dark fantasy, because who hasn't been for the last little while? Ever since I've been spammed on Instagram Reels and TikTok with either these awesome dark fantasy compilations or people making dark fantasy music, it's all that's been in my brain this past week. But honestly, rightfully so, because, I mean, who doesn't want to be just curled up on their couch watching a dark fantasy movie while it's raining, while it's maybe a little bit chilly outside? I think it's just the perfect vibe, to be honest. I don't know what it is, but I feel like it evokes something deep within me. And I feel like other people have also experienced this, which is probably why it's taking off. And on the music side of things, I've been super inspired by Dorian Concept, who made one of the most popular dark fantasy songs, probably of all time, because this has just recently become a genre. And he has an awesome YouTube channel, which is going to be linked in the description below, so you should definitely check his channel out. So for this week's video, I actually transcribed one of his compositions called Bleen on YouTube. Definitely go check it out for yourselves. I just did this by ear. It's probably not 100% correct because he's an evil genius. Without further ado, let's just get into the sound. So I want to be playing the MIDI to demonstrate the composition just on the initial Serum 2 preset, which is just a straight saw wave. So let's have a listen to this. So it's worth noting that I randomized the MIDI to make it feel a little bit more human and played in, since Dorian Concept actually played this in, but I just punched it in with my mouse. And then I also automated the tempo over here, you can see in my master track, again, just to make it feel like a little bit more human. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way before we dive into the sound. Now, I couldn't decide, honestly, what kind of wave shape I wanted. I kept on fighting between a saw and a square wave. So I decided to actually use both in a way, you're gonna see. So let's start off with the saw one first. So we're gonna turn oscillator A on right here if it isn't on already. We're gonna click the default shapes, go to Serum 2 tables, analog, and you can honestly use any saw that you like. You're welcome to experiment here. I used the Model D, and then I put it on this third wave table to get me this kind of interesting analog-ish sounding saw wave. Let's hear what that sounds like. Great, and that's all I did for this saw wave. It's literally just that Model D. And now let's go to the second oscillator. For this one, I just used the default shapes and I set it to wavetable position number 4. And then in these warp modes for the left one, you're gonna click on Alt Warp, go to PWM, and then for the second one, go to Alt Warp and go to Bend plus or minus, and then set it to 66. So that's gonna bend the wave, and it sounds like this. So now you get sort of a blend between a saw and a square wave, best of both worlds for people who can't decide, aka me. And then for the pulse width modulation, you can go to LFO1, go to sample hold, turn the smoothness all the way up, and then change it from BPM to hertz, and let's go to 5.5 hertz over here, and just drag LFO1 to the PWM over here, and set the max value to about 20%. Now it sounds like this. So now it sounds more analog, a little bit more alive, as opposed to just the clean saw wave. So both can work in their own context. For my final composition, I actually used both, and we'll get into that later. So before anything else, let's shape our envelope a little bit. I'm gonna zoom in over here by dragging down on this magnifying knob. And then for the attack, let's go 30 milliseconds to soften the sound a little bit. And then for the decay, let's set that to 100. For the sustain, let's go minus 22 decibels. And the release, we can leave about the same. I'm just going to elongate it slightly to 22 milliseconds. And now with the updated envelope, it sounds like this. So now the sound is definitely a pluck sound. Next up, we can go ahead and turn our filter on. Let's set it to MG low 24. We're going to set the cutoff to about 616 hertz. Turn the resonance up to about 22. And then we can raise our drive and fat knobs a very decent amount. And we're going to make sure that to assign that to oscillators A and B, since we're going to use them both. And before we forget, let's turn on mono, and the portamento we can set to 0.4. 4. So now we've entirely softened the sound and gotten rid of a lot of those higher frequencies. Now we can also drag our envelope over here to our cutoff to give the filter a bit of movement. I'm going to drag this max value knob to about 7%. Let's hear what that sounds like with oscillator A. So very similar sounds, just a tiny bit of a different timbre. Before I forget, let's make macro knobs for the levels for our oscillator A and B. So I'm just going to drag macro number 1 to the level of oscillator A, and macro number 2 to the level of oscillator B. And I'm just going to label them really quickly, oscillator A and oscillator B. So now, it now effectively functions as the level over here. Again, we don't have to do this, but it's a nice shortcut for someone else who hasn't designed this preset. The last thing we're going to do in our envelope section is we're actually going to go back to it, and I want to create some variety within the envelope. So Serum 2 has this nice feature where I can actually click on this little center point over here that controls this steepness function. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to go to modulation, curve, note, and I'm going to go note on random 1 for this one. I'm going to do the same thing with this middle point over here. Same thing, modulation, note, and this time I'll go note on random 2 just to differentiate them. And now when we press play, we're going to see them moving. So now they're moving quite a lot. So we're going to go to our matrix tab over here. I'm going to pull the first one down to about -12 and the second one maybe about -10. So now it's a little bit more controlled, but we still get that nice variety. And what we can do also is drag macro number 3 as an aux source for the first one, macro number 4 as an aux source for the second one. And now we can control the modulation with the macro knobs as well. So if we want a lot of movement, we can turn these guys up. And if we turn them down, we get that more subtle movement, but it still adds a lot of human and you could say analog touch to your sound. Underrated feature in Serum 2, I would say. So now we can go and add some effects. I'm going to add a chorus. I'm going to change the mix to about 38%. Next, we can add a delay. I'm going to set it to ping pong. I'm going to set it to an 8th note for both the left and the right channels. And then over here, we're going to change it to triplet half. Set the feedback to about 30%. Cut a bit of the lows and the highs. Turn the mix down a little bit, and let's hear how that sounds. Absolutely beautiful. And we can do the same thing. We can go to macro number 5, for example, and set it to the mix of the delay. So now we can have a delay knob over here that we can automate. Finally, we're going to go ahead and add a reverb. I'm going to set it to Hall, cut the lows about 38, set the size to about 20. So I'm going to lower it and the decay to about 1.8 seconds. We can turn the mix up a little bit. So now we've put our sound in a bit of a room. And these two knobs, the size and the decay, are really going to shape the tone of your reverb. The smaller the size is, the more intimate it's going to feel, and the larger it is, the more you're going to feel like you're in a Grand Canyon. But for a lot of these liminal sounds, I actually like to keep the size a little bit smaller because it just feels a little bit more intimate and natural sounding. We're going to keep this sound pretty simple for today because I want to keep the essence of the sound, but obviously you can go above and beyond in 1,000 different ways. So that'll just about do it for the sound. Now we can dive into the production. We've got our main sound over here, and then I just copied it for this B section, and I'm actually using just the saw wave for the harmonies that I added. This is what they sound like. And again, this is completely based off of what I heard from Dorian Concept's composition, so definitely go check out his original video. Then for the bass, I again use Serum 2 just on the default shapes on the 4th position. You can copy this envelope over here, nothing special. I got the cutoff set at almost 1K, no effects even, just simply playing a bass line. And then for the main sound, I've done some automations within Serum 2 with the delay and the filter just opening up slightly in the B section, just to add some variety for the listener and to make it slightly more interesting. So yeah, why don't we go ahead and just play the whole sound from the beginning. So that'll that'll just about do it for this week's video. Thank you so much for sticking around. As always, if you made it to the end of the video, I really appreciate it. As always, I've got my Gumroad linked in the description of this video, where I've got a bunch of free resources. I'm talking Serum 2 presets, Afro House kicks, a Prophet 5V guide if the Prophet synthesizer ever confused you. All of those are available for absolutely free from the link down below. Thank you so much for sticking around. I got so into this video, I forgot to crack my seltzer. Can you believe it? Let's do it right now though. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you found something useful out of it. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Thank you for the support. I'll see you guys very soon. Have a good night.